So I'm gonna just attach the thread to the hook here. That's it. And now we're gonna make the shuck. So I use this little tool, which is made by an Italian company called Stonfo. It's a type of hackle plier. So I'm going to take about 1/3 of the barbs that are in this.
Have you got your light on, Gerhard?
I do, but that's why I want Herman's light, because if it's better than this one, then... Okay. You can just send me one and an invoice. I want it, please. Okay, so now I'm going to just... Can you guys see this little hook here? This thing has. Okay, so I'm just going to cap these in the little hook there, like that. Now I'm going to pull them all nicely together. Now I'm going to trim them so that there's about 2 millimeters of synthetic fibery thingy sticking out like that. And I'm going to take the lighter and burn those. And I'm just going to pull it like this. Okay.
Just do it a bit lower so you can see it.
Sorry, there.
Yeah.
Okay, so now my shuck looks like that. Okay. Now I'm going to, I want the shuck about probably, I don't know how long, like that long. What is that, like?
Half a shank.
Yeah, like a shank, half a shank. I don't want it too long. Okay, and I'm just going to trap it there. 1-2 wraps of thread. That's kind of the length that that's maybe a bit too long. There. Okay. Now, and I want to tie the shuck in here because I'm going to wind it back now. And if I wind it back, I want to get an even body. Okay. So there we go. That's fine. Now, because I'm going to tie another one of these, I'm going to go and I'm going to grab this with my little plier. So now I know that those are all together and they're the right length and they're in place for when I want to do the next shuck. And I can put those aside. Okay. I'm going to wind back all the way down. Okay. Then I'm going to take you can tie in a hot spot if you want to at this stage. I'm not sold on hot spots. I'm going to take a super fine dry fly dubbing. I'm going to dub a little worm onto the thread, and I want to get this the point. I don't know. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
So I want to get this because obviously it's going to be thinner at the tip. I want to get that as close to the shank of the hook as possible. I don't want thread here because that means more wraps. You want to, when you're tying dry flies, every wrap counts. So you don't want to have any unnecessary wraps on the fly. So I want to get this as close to there as possible. So I'm going to bring that down just a little bit to there. That's fine. Remember, I've got to wrap it down still before it starts building. I've got to cover another millimeter or so there. So that's fine. And then if it thickens up a bit from there, it's fine. And then I'm going to build the body. That should be enough. I might need a little bit more, but that's not the end of it. Okay. Make the thread short. It's always easier working with a short thread. Now I'm going to go down to the point where I need it to be. And then I'm going to come up fairly quickly. And I'm going to bulk that body. Not too much. I'm going to need a bit more. What did I do with that double? Okay. This is the point where you don't want the dubbing to be too tight. Because if it's too tight, then I don't like it. Okay, so there we go. That's far enough. Now I'm going to do the CDC. So CDC comes in different shapes and sizes. This CDC that I'm using here is from Trout Hunter. It's a dark dun, it's a natural CDC, it's not a dyed CDC. And I want to use 2 fairly big plumes with relatively long bobs. So there's one, and there's a second. Okay, so here's a feather. Can you guys see that? When you open the bob, pull the bobs back, then you want these bobs to be long. See, there's some short bobs in there. That you're always going to get that unless you buy like Peter John Select CDC or something like that. This is fine for what I want to do here. Now I need to get all of these bobs on this side and all of these bobs on this side, plus all of the bobs on another feather into a little bunch. Again, that can be tricky. So here's my first feather. I'm going to put it down. You want to get matching feathers ideally, but I mean these can be difficult. See how long the bobs are on this feather here. Okay, so I'm going to take all of this fluff in the back. I'm going to pull that off. Just put it down there. We'll use that later. And I'm going to do the same with my first feather. Now I'm going to take the 2 feathers and I'm going to put them tip to butt. Okay, so you open them like that, put them tip to butt like that. Okay, you see that. Now I've got this little foam tool here, which is a piece of camping foam, you know, the little camping mattresses, which I cut into a diamond shape, and then I cut slits across it, and that's Velcro to my vise. And this is an extremely handy thing. You should all get these. Now I'm going to take these and I'm going to pull the fibers. Can you guys see this? You can't see this. Okay, sorry. I'm going to pull it into one of these slits, and all of those bobs are going to pop up. And it looks like that. Oh shoot! Which way? Other way. That looks like that. You see it?
Yeah.
Fuck, weet nie. Daarso, kan jy het nou sien? Sorry, this thing's working out, man. Okay, now I'm just going to take the needle and I'm going to lift just do this 3 or 4 times. It just lifts those fibers out. Now I'm going to use this little clamp. I'm going to open it, come in from the side, and I'm going to grab all those bobs. And I'm going to open the foam and I'm going to pull them out. Now they're all there together. Now you can see that this runs at a bit of an angle. Can you see that? Which is not ideal. So I'm going to just stick my needle in here and I'm going to lift these up ever so slightly. And stuck there, which is not ideal. That's fine. I'm not going to worry about that. Now I'm going to trim the edge here. And I'm going to just trim the ends here. That one that's stuck is a problem child. We'll pull him out. There you go. Get rid of it. Now I'm going to cut the stems, these 2 stems off. Coming from the other side with that last bit. So now I've only got the CDC in there. Okay. Now, to get this into a bundle is a bit of a challenge. So what we're going to do is I'm going to open this clamp the width of the needle, and I'm going to stick the needle in there and I'm going to compress all of these fibers to one end. Okay, so I'm going to do that like this. I'm going to put my index finger on this there. Can you see?
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm going to put my index finger there. Can I turn the screen?
Yeah.
Because then I can. It's not on. Is it on?
Yeah.
Oh, this doesn't help. No, I thought I might be able to see that. Okay, anyway. I'm going to put my index finger on the side here. I'm opening it slightly and I'm just sliding all of these bobs across. When you stick the needle in here, don't just stick the tip in, because remember the bobs come all the way down. If you just stick the tip in, then you're just pulling the ends of the bobs across, and you want to force the entire bob across. Okay, so that goes all the way across. Now all of them are together at the end there in a little bonuki. Now when I tie these in, I need them in my left hand, and these are the ends that I'm going to tie in. Okay, so I'm going to grab them with my right hand like that. Now all of these ends, there's short ones in here as well. In order to get that little loop perfect, obviously the barbs need to be long enough so that they can loop around and then be tied down. So I don't want the short barbs showing in there. So I've got an idea of how long this is. Now I'm changing hands. I'm pinching these here. So all of the short barbs here I'm going to pull out. I'm going to put them down. We're going to use them later. Okay. There we go. Now it's nice and even. I get them all together. I'm just going to slightly twist them. That keeps them together. And I pinch them and they're in a little bunch like that. Now I'm going to lay them on top of the hook. I'm going to do a pinch loop. And they're in place. Okay. So now you can see these are all the barbs that I'm going to use to make the loop wing that I'm going to pull across. Now I'm going to secure them with the thread, moving forward, and then coming back I'm going to dub the coarse dubbing. Okay, so that's it. Those are in place now. They won't go anywhere. Now I'm using a black dubbing again. This is a synthetic. Oh no, this is your dubbing. This is synthetic black. It's a bit coarser. And now these little pieces of CDC which were too short to make the loop, I'm going to pick some of them up and I'm going to just stick them into my coarse dubbing here. And I'm going to dub this on here. And once again, I don't want to dub it too tight. Okay, it's a messy little worm. You can see that. Okay, and I'm going to come back with that. Okay, that's actually enough. So I'm just going to take that last bit and make that really tight, and that will hide my thread when I bring my thread forward. I'm going to park my thread, and I've got about 1 millimeter left there. Now comes the trick to make the loop. So if I pull this forward now, I've got to make sure that there's an even amount of tension on all of those barbs, or you'll have some that are stiff and some that are loose, and your bubble won't be very neat. Okay, so I'm going to pull these up, get them all pointing in the same direction, and then I'm going to once again use my dubbing needle. I'm going to pull them over my dubbing needle, so my dubbing needle helps me to form that loop. Now, very important now, I don't want to take barbs from the far side of the fly, or say the left hand side of the fly, and tie them down on the right hand side of the fly. And I don't want to take barbs from the right hand side of the fly and tie them on the left hand side of the fly, because that means that they're going to cross over when we do the loop. They need to be in a nice straight line. So I'm going to just comb it a bit like that, pull it, and come forward. Now notice that I'm not worried about the size of the loop right now. I just want to pinch all the barbs. So that's a very small loop that I've got there now. I'm coming over just once, grab them, and twice. That's it. And they're in place. So you guys can see the loop there now, and you see the loop there now. And you can't really see the detail there, but they're straight enough. Okay. Now I'm sticking my needle in there again, and I'm going to pull all those barbs. I've got to make sure that this needle goes in at a 90-degree angle, and I'm going to lift all these barbs ever so gently to determine the size of the loop. I don't want this needle to be at this angle or at this angle, because once again I'll create even tension on the barbs. They have to come up evenly. There it goes. And I'm happy with it over there. Okay. Now I'm going to grab the loop. I'm going to pinch it down. I'm going to make 1 or 2 really tight wraps to make sure that they're all secured. Then I'm going to take the loose barbs and I'm going to fold them back and that's going to give me that post that stands up. I'm going to make 2 really tight wraps over that, and then I'm going to whip finish the fly 3 or 4 more, a 3 or 4 wrap whip finish. So I use my whip finish wraps to help secure the fly. I don't build up the thread head and then go and whip finish over that. Okay, so I'm going to just pinch that there, go 1, 2, 3. Now I know that's really tight. That's in place. I'm pulling those back and go 1, 2, and come down. And I'm going to whip finish it. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Okay, there's the fly. Now I've got all these little leggy thingies sticking out here. Sometimes it's nice to leave some of them sticking out to the back like this. Some, you know, I mean, it's entirely up to you. I don't want it too messy, so I'm going to grab all of these short ones now, hold them together. I'm going to stick my scissors in there, come forward, trim them as short as possible. And that's the fly, finished. Here you go.
Can you just rotate it so you can...
So it's really, it's probably a bit better like that. It's a really quick fly to tie.